Hello everyone, on my 26th recently. The noise inside the arena was deafening long before BTS even stepped onto the stage. Thousands of ARMY bombs shimmered like galaxies in the dark, the entire venue glowing silver and purple while chants rolled through the crowd in waves. Backstage, Jungkook adjusted the sleeves of his black jacket and flexed his fingers nervously. The energy of the American Music Awards always hit differently. Louder, faster, more electric. Tonight felt even bigger. Ready? Namjoon asked with a grin. Jungkook nodded. Always. The performance passed in a blur of lights, sweat, and adrenaline. 1 second he was hearing the opening beat thunder through the speakers, and the next he was standing shoulder to shoulder with the members while the audience screamed so loudly he could barely hear himself breathe. Every movement came naturally after years of practice, but the rush of performing for ARMY never became ordinary. When the final note hit, the crowd exploded. Jungkook laughed breathlessly as confetti drifted from above. The members bowed together, thanking fans while cameras flashed non-stop. Security opened the side barricades so BTS could walk closer to the audience during the ending segment. It was something they loved doing whenever possible, reaching out to the fans who had traveled across countries and continents just to see them for a few seconds. Jungkook moved along the barricade, smiling brightly. Fans stretched their hands toward him, some crying, others shaking so badly they could barely lift their phones. He high-fived everyone he could reach, his palms stinging from the rapid succession of contact. Jungkook, I love you. Marry me. You did amazing. He laughed at the comments, bowing his head shyly before continuing down the line. One fan handed him a tiny plush bunny. Another simply burst into tears the second he touched her hand. Then it happened. A sharp tug caught against his finger during one particularly enthusiastic high five. Jungkook's smile faltered for only half a second. His ring was gone. The silver band he always wore, simple, slightly scratched, familiar against his skin, had disappeared into the chaos of moving hands and sleeves. He immediately glanced down at his fingers, confusion flickering across his face. Wait, but the music was still blasting. Fans were screaming. Security kept the line moving. For a moment he thought maybe it had slipped into his pocket somehow. He checked quickly while still walking, panic beginning to rise in his chest. Nothing. Jimin noticed first. What's wrong? He mouthed while waving to fans. My ring, Jungkook said quietly. Jimin's eyes widened instantly. You lost it. Jungkook nodded, scanning the ground near the barricade. Hundreds of tiny reflective pieces from confetti littered the floor, making it impossible to distinguish anything silver. A staff member approached after seeing the sudden change in expression. Jungkook explained quickly while trying not to worry. It wasn't even about the price of the ring, it was sentimental. He had worn it for years. Losing it felt strangely personal, like dropping a memory somewhere unreachable. Security began checking the floor with flashlights while the members continued greeting fans so the event wouldn't stop. Jungkook tried to smile, but his attention kept drifting back toward the barricade. Then, unexpectedly, a scream rose above the others. Jungkook, one girl near the center of the barricade held something high in trembling fingers. The ring. For a second, Jungkook just stared in disbelief. The fan looked moments away from fainting as security carefully approached her. It fell into my hand, she cried. I didn't even realize at first. Nearby fans immediately started cheering louder than before, some chanting, ARMY. Army, while phones captured the entire thing. The staff member retrieved the ring carefully and handed it back to Jungkook. Relief flooded his face so visibly that the entire section erupted again. Oh thank God, Taeyoung laughed beside him. Jungkook slipped the ring back onto his finger, pressing it down securely this time before looking toward the fan who had returned it. She was crying now, covering her mouth in shock. Without hesitation, Jungkook walked back toward the barricade. Security tensed immediately, but he ignored them for a second. He placed his hand over his heart and bowed deeply to her. "Thank you," he said sincerely. The girl looked completely stunned. "I love you." Jungkook grinned, the familiar sparkle returning to his eyes. "I love you too." The interaction lasted less than 30 seconds, but by the next morning the clip had spread across every social media platform imaginable. Fans called it proof of the trust between BTS and ARMY. Others joked that Jungkook's ring had taken its own tour through the audience before returning home. But for Jungkook, the moment stayed meaningful for a different reason. In the middle of overwhelming fame, endless schedules, and arenas filled with strangers, there had still been honesty. Care. Someone could have kept the ring forever without anyone knowing. Instead, they gave it back immediately, and somehow, that simple act stayed with him longer than the performance itself.